Welcome to Freezer Milk Podcast. I'm your host, Bridget, along with my husband, Chris. Podcast where we talk about the comedic side and serious side of parenting, life, and relationships. We are boy parents. We have two boys, Enzo and Rhett, with about a 6-year age gap between the two. You can check out our website, freezermilk.com. Also, feel free to follow us on Instagram at Freezer Milk Podcast. Thanks and hope you enjoy. Are you making fun of me?
I'm always making fun of you. Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Another week. It's a short week.
Yeah.
Which
Holiday.
leads into its own problems with our family.
Yeah. Like what?
Well, let's just go through a quick recap of what's happened in the last 7 days. I'd say haven't done a whole lot in all reality. What did we do last weekend? I think I did some work for the midwives.
You did. That's right.
That's right. We have an agreement with our midwives that if I do some work at one of their buildings, they've got a commercial building where their office is. I've been doing some work for them that basically we're using a barter system to pay for our birth.
It's a services trade.
Yeah. So that's what I've been working on, amongst other things.
I feel like that's not a terrible deal.
No.
I wish
like
we could services trade more items in life.
Yeah, I love the barter system.
Makes life a lot easier.
Yes, it does.
I have skills. You have skills. I need your skills. You need my skills. Good to go.
Yep. So
why should we exchange money?
So that's what I've been working on, and Bridget's been
pregnant.
Very pregnant. She's at the 9-month threshold there.
Woohoo! We made it.
And it's been a long week with her and her emotions, so I'll let her kind of.
I had a lot of Braxton Hicks contractions the other day. I don't remember what day it was. I think it was Sunday, maybe. Yeah.
But mentally, you've been wanting this to happen a lot sooner than you want this to be an earlier, because every pregnancy that we've had has been overdue, and you don't want to go through that again. You would like an early baby.
Not only do I not want to go late if I can help it. I mean, it's really completely out of my control. But so I don't even want to say if I can help it. I would love to not go late, because going late mentally just fucks with you. It really does. But then also we run the risk of a Christmas baby. We run the risk of a New Year's baby. We run the risk of a baby being born within a week of Enzo's birthday. There's just a lot towards the going overdue point that it would just be more challenging, I feel like. Versus if we had a baby early at the beginning of December, people don't associate kids born at the beginning of December with Christmas babies.
Yeah.
But if this baby's late, then there's a chance for Christmas, there's a chance for New Year's, there's a chance for first couple of days of January, and Enzo is also early January, and then you're January. It's a lot of January birthdays.
Yep.
I don't want that. Mm-hmm. Early December, end of November sound good.
Yeah, I agree. But you've been an emotional wreck pretty much this week.
Yeah.
Just battling through it.
Hormones, they're crazy. And then I had a lot of Braxton Hicks contractions. And just pelvic uncomfortableness on Sunday.
Yeah, so you decided that you wanted me to check to see if you were dilated. Because I'm a freaking OBGYN or a midwife, right?
There's a wiki how.
So that we had not a disagreement, but we were just her request was that I check to see if she was dilated, which... I don't know what the fuck what am I feeling for? I don't know.
I was I can describe it to you.
So she tried to describe it to me. So we went down that road. That's probably...
It's not foreign for you to have your hands there.
No, but it was just for that purpose. It was weird. It's definitely... It's normally in a different, a different situation, and I'm feeling a little bit differently about it.
Speaking of, we've had some great sex this week.
Yeah.
We had, pantry sex, office sex, garage sex.
Yeah.
We had some really good sex this week.
Yeah. Trying to dilate you more.
But
a busy week.
Yeah. So you checked for dilation. You feel like I'm dilated a bit.
Yeah, but your midwives also said you could be dilated for a month.
It's so true. Like, dilation is not a measure of labor is near. It's just something that has to happen, obviously, before a baby comes out.
Yep.
But you could go from 0 to 10 in 3 hours, or you could be dilated 5 centimeters for days. Like, it's not a judge of labor is happening soon.
Yeah.
It's just a judge of, hey, we're one step closer. That's 1 less centimeter I have to dilate till I meet my baby.
Speaking of that, we've been kind of going around with, the details and the planning of this birth. And obviously we're doing it at home, so it makes it a little bit easier. But at the same time, it's not as easy because there's so many things that you have to account for. Like, we were discussing having a birth tub and not having a birth tub, and you did a birth tub before and you didn't love it, but we're like, maybe you should get one because you don't know how you're going to feel in the moment.
And inflatable tub versus like a narrow porcelain tub are different. So with Rhett, it was a narrow porcelain tub, and so I didn't have the freedom of movement. So we've been debating on like the inflatable tub.
But the damn things are so expensive.
Yeah.
And you only use them once. Like, they're like $380 for this tub that you're going to use one time because we don't plan on having any more children after this.
I know. That's the part that like sucks.
I'm like, can't we just go to Fry's and get one of those plastic tubs for $10? Like, why do we have to go so extravagant on this thing? Does it have jets or does it massage you?
I mean, it's got an inflatable floor, inflatable seat in it. It's,
it's the deluxe tub.
The walls are high, so you can change positions and not have to worry about like your bottom coming out from under the water. And it's got handles, so you can like be comfortable and hold on. And has a cup holder.
We were thinking that doing the birth at home, because you've had a hospital birth, you've had a birth center birth, and now you want to do an at home birth. We were thinking that the at home birth would be easier because you're at home, you're already there, you don't have to travel for it. But I've listening to you and going through all of this plan, it is more difficult for us to do it this way, I feel, than it would be to do it at a birth center.
Only because we have children and whatnot.
Yeah, because it could happen while Enzo's in school, and what do you got to do with Rhett? And we have all these details that we still haven't addressed, and you're 30 days away.
We've addressed the Rhett situation.
Yeah, I mean, Rhett's going to get taken care of by her nanny and whatnot.
She has everything at her house she needs.
Yeah, that's true. But what do we do? We're still trying to figure out the Enzo situation. Which, remember, he was saying, we were talking.
Enzo really wants to attend the birth, but without having, like if my cousin was here for some reason when it happened, like he is somebody I could trust to come over and like parent Enzo while we were laboring, so it wouldn't be a concern of yours or mine while I'm laboring. But we don't have someone, and the nanny's already taken care of Rhett, and she offered for Enzo, but like we're still debating, like is that a lot to put on her? But we don't have someone that we can trust that can come over and like be parent mode for Enzo.
Yeah.
And so if Enzo's here, like it's, during the weekend or something like that, that's something we have to think about. As far as the last thing I want is you to be worried about parent mode with Enzo. And, even if Enzo was to attend the birth part of it, I still, like, I wouldn't want you worried about the hours of labor of Enzo being like, hey, I'm hungry. Hey, I'm bored. Hey, what can I do?
And parent.
Yeah, like parent. Like,
I mean, I'm still going to be worried about our children. Like, like Rhett, like he's going over to our nanny's house.
Yeah.
And we took his pack and play, took all his stuff, took his food.
The travel strollers coming in use.
Everything's over there. You had to go over there the other night. Yeah. But I'm still going to worry about it. Worry how he is doing.
Yeah.
Because he's never been away from us.
Yeah. That's such a crazy thing. I was thinking about the other days. I'm like, because we work from home and him being a pandemic baby and, just life, like, kid's almost 2 years old. He's never spent a night away from us. And he's never really been away from us. The most he's been away from us, I think, was like 6 hours during the daytime on a weekend one time, and he was pissed.
Yeah.
He was really mad at us. And it was with his nanny. Like, he loves her, but he was really mad when we got home that day because he was just like, y'all fucking abandoned me. Yeah. And I'm like, man, I worry, like, how is he going to do? Like, I'm sure he'll be fine, but I do worry, like, is he going to be distraught about the fact that, like, hey, the nanny is, like, the second best after mom and dad, but where the heck are mom and dad?
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, it's tough.
So it's tough with Enzo because I just
think it's going to be more, like, I would love for him to be there, but at the same time, I feel like it's going to be more of a distraction.
Without having somebody that their sole job is to take care of him, like, it doesn't make sense, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And so then I feel bad because it's something he really wanted, and it's the last baby and this and that, and that's where I'm like, man, like, it's that balance of feeling guilty as a parent, but also knowing, like, hey, like, I need this to be, my mind and your mind need to be relaxed and at ease, because if we're stressed, that's going to impact the birth and labor. And that can make labor prolonged, and that can have, consequences.
Yeah.
So we're still trying to get that part figured out as far as, it's tough because you never know with baby. So, like, I could go into labor during the night and be born before Enzo wakes up in the morning, and that's a whole different scenario. Like, okay, no big deal. But it could be at the most inconvenient time. I go into labor when we're supposed to be picking up Enzo from school, and then we have to, like, all of a sudden make sure somebody else can get him from school and take him somewhere. And
it's just a lot.
It's a lot of moving parts.
The midwives are telling me I got to buy, like, tarps and stuff, and I got to buy, like, plastic runners, and I'm like, it's like a wet job, and I'm like, you want to birth at home on our white, our light-colored carpet, brand new carpet, and I'm like, oh, God, this is exhausting. And my OCD is, like, getting the best of me about this, because I'm like, can't we do this out back? Can't we do it in the garage? Can't we do it anywhere but our bedroom? But no, it's going to happen right on our floor.
I mean, probably the bathroom in the bedroom, the master bathroom. With the grout and the tile.
Yeah, the white tile and the white grout. Wonderful. Real excited about that. But there's just a lot of details that go into all of this.
Yeah, planning for birth. It's crazy.
Especially right around the holidays. Like, right around the holidays and birthdays and... Oh, man.
Come on, early baby.
But...
What else have we had going on?
Trying to catch up on sleep. And I had kind of a meltdown, the other day?
Yeah, I think like 2 days ago or yesterday.
Which is not really like me.
No.
But it's more...
You couldn't sleep at night. You watched the Cardinals, so...
Yeah, I watched my favorite football team just, basically...
Football's a debated subject in our house because I feel like it doesn't ever have a positive impact on your mood.
No.
And it always just puts you in a mood, and so I feel like you shouldn't watch it because it puts you in a mood.
Especially this year. It's been a tough one, so...
But you watched that game.
I watched that game, and then I couldn't sleep, and then I started getting, like...
In your head about stuff? In
my head about the birth, and having another baby, and oh my God, the work that's going to go into it, and the lack of sleep. I'm already getting, I'm already not sleeping right. Because Rhett gets up at 4:50 every morning, and, it's just, I'm not getting the sleep I need. And I'm just like, man, we're about to try and do this again, And it was a pretty surreal moment. But it impacted you negatively because I was thinking poorly.
Yeah, well, because you told me what your thoughts were, which I appreciate you doing, but then you didn't go in further like, hey, these are my thoughts, and it made me feel bad, and, you just were like, these are my thoughts, and I was like, oh.
You don't want another baby?
Because you're like, why are we doing this again?
Yeah.
I'm like, it's a little late now to be asking yourself this. But then you're like, no, like, that's what my thought was that kept me up last night, and it kept me up because I felt guilty about feeling that way, and I realized I don't actually feel that way, and, like, you had to kind of explain it all out, but...
Yeah, so it's just... I don't know, we're just at that time of year, we're at that time of the pregnancy, we're just... It's a lot of stuff is happening in our lives right now, and it's hard for us to just pause and be like, hey... then that's the one thing that you've been preaching to me is, you just need to stay in the moment because we're trying to get, our businesses off the ground and, still try and work our 9-to-5s and take care of kids and have a baby.
You want to buy an investment property.
What?
I said you want to buy an investment property.
I'm looking into real estate and, all this stuff. And you're like, you have to slow me down every once in a while and just, hey, you need to just kind of embrace these times. Maybe this isn't the time for all this shit.
It's not our season for it. And that's what I was telling you the other day. I said, because you're like, well, it's such a great time to eventually start picking up investments with the recession going on and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, look, like, it just might not be our season for that. And that's okay. Our season will come for that.
Yeah.
But right now, it might not be our season. Our season is being a family unit and building the memories and laying the foundation with the kids when they're young and being here instead of getting pulled 25 different ways.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because when they're older, they don't need us as much.
Yeah, and those, those moments aren't there anymore. They're just different. They're older.
It's like this morning I sent you the picture of, I pulled up the cameras and Rhett was just like sitting on you on the couch this morning, just snuggled up, and I sent you a screenshot of it and I was like, let me tell you about my best friend.
Mm-hmm. That's our thing. That's what we do in the mornings.
He's going to hit a point where
he won't do that anymore.
He won't, and he won't want to snuggle, and he won't want to hang out with you, and he'll want to just do his own thing. Mm-hmm. It's crazy.
So I'm trying to live more in the moment now, these days, instead of trying to get to the finish line so quickly.
I've been trying to soak up the fact that, like, this is our planned last pregnancy. I've been trying to soak up, like, you mentioned the other day you touch your belly all the time, and you like rub your belly, and you like, talk to the baby in the belly and all that. And I was like, yeah, because as far as our plans are, this is our last pregnancy. Like, this is the last time, like, oh, my hormones. Gonna get misty eyed. But I'm like, this is the last time that my belly is gonna grow, and stupid hormones. They're getting me. Terrible. But I'm also trying to soak up the times with Rhett right now too, because this is the last time Rhett's going to be the baby.
Yeah. And
so I'm trying to like really embrace and soak up that, and as much as sometimes I'm like, dude, like, because he's hitting the twos for sure, full bore 2-year-old coming in. I still know, like, this is the last time that you're the baby, and this is the last time that you're going to feel like you're the baby.
Yeah, because the new baby's going to draw a lot of your attention.
Yeah.
Well, it's just like Enzo, him being the oldest, like, he definitely doesn't get as much attention as Rhett does right now.
Yes.
And that's tough. It's hard to balance that with him. We try to do the best we can with, making him feel love and, trying to do things with him. And
we got really lucky that he is a kid who was like meant to be a big brother, and like he kind of loves it. Like, he gets annoyed sometimes at Rhett, but overall
he does really well.
He wants to come and play with Rhett. He wants to hang out with him. He wants to, snuggle on the couch. Like, Rhett yesterday climbed up on the couch and like just laid on Enzo and hugged him, and then like held his face and went to like kiss him on the mouth, because like Rhett loves to give mouth kisses. And Enzo kind of like turned his head, and Rhett got really upset and like kept trying to turn it back. And Enzo was like, what is he doing? I was like, he's trying to give you a kiss on the mouth. And he was like, I don't know if I've ever mouth kissed him before. And I was like, you don't have to if you don't want to. And so I was like, it's fine. He like kissed him on the mouth, and Rhett just smiled and then laid his head down on him, just snuggled for a minute. And I was like, how many other siblings with a 6-year age gap would necessarily tolerate that?
Yeah. Although Enzo is extra cuddly and snuggly, and
that might be exactly the way that Enzo's supposed to be for his brothers.
Yeah, exactly.
Because like Rhett,
most siblings aren't. Me and my siblings didn't get along at all.
Yeah, so. Like Rhett needs that, and this baby will probably need that too. And getting that, like, that's where I'm like, Enzo was meant to be a big brother. Like, that was, I don't say like his purpose in life, but it was kind of like there are kids that you're like, you tolerate your sibling, you don't love them, like, not that they don't love them, but they tolerate them. They don't like hanging out with them a lot. Enzo really enjoys it.
Yeah. It's interesting. I don't know. So we've got Thanksgiving coming up here.
Yeah.
You're extra pregnant. Enzo's expectations for Thanksgiving are rather
steep.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that we're going to satisfy his need on that one. Because technically he's spending Thanksgiving afternoon,
yeah, so
night,
Thanksgiving
dinner.
Is the day we split the day at like 1 p.m.
Yeah.
So every other year, it rotates every year which parent gets him for Thanksgiving dinner. So this year it's his dad. He goes to his dad's for Thanksgiving dinner.
Yeah, so we told him, we're like, you know, he's like questioning. He's like, hey, you know, what are we doing for Thanksgiving? We're going to have a Thanksgiving lunch. Who's coming over? And we're like, me and you are like, hey, you know, Bridget's 9 months pregnant. We've got the baby. Like, we don't really feel like doing a whole lot. And, you know, the only family I really have here is my mom, who is going over to her friend's house. So I'm like, we're not really doing anything. We were going to get some Papa Murphy's dairy-free pizzas and
for our Thanksgiving dinner.
Yeah,
for
our Thanksgiving dinner, that was for us. But, you know, he's like, hey, are we, like, what are we doing?
Are we doing a Thanksgiving lunch? I'm like, what?
You have Thanksgiving lunch? No. You eat cinnamon rolls in the morning, you watch the parade, you have a little bit of a sandwich, and then, you know, dinner's later on. You know, I mean, essentially.
Save room for dinner.
Right. So I'm like, no, we're not doing all that. We're kind of just taking it easy.
Yeah.
So,
we did pick up our Trader Joe's, for anyone that's dairy-free. Trader Joe's cinnamon rolls are dairy-free.
Yep.
The ones in the can that you make, they're actually dairy-free. So our
they're
plan is,
good.
They're delicious. Our plan is to make some cinnamon rolls. We got some orange juice and put on the Thanksgiving Day parade and
hang out.
Just have a lazy morning.
And he's off to his dad's, and it's like, you know, I don't know what he was expecting, like a full, I wish we could give that to him, but that's just not what we planned for this year.
No, and like, we don't even like turkey.
No, I hate turkey because every time my mom cooks it, it's dry. I'm like, I can't do this. It's like chewing sawdust.
I've had good turkey. It's just, I'm not a huge turkey person anyway.
Well, my mom doesn't understand the dairy-free aspect of things,
oh my
so
God.
doing dinners with her is damn near impossible.
What did she say the other day that I like died laughing at? Because we've talked on quite a few episodes about your mom's lack of dairy-free understanding, and like, I don't understand how you can be so dumb. I just don't get it. The other day she told you, she's like, oh, you can't have chips and salsa.
Yeah, because it has dairy.
Like, what do you think dairy is? Why do you think chips have dairy in them?
And she's like, I'm going to bring over some pastries in the morning. And I'm like, we can't have that. There's dairy in pastries. She's like, oh, okay, you're right. I'll bring cinnamon rolls. Like, the cinnamon rolls she buys or brings from the store have dairy in them.
Yeah, they're already made.
So she's like, oh, well, you guys can't have chips and salsa then, right? And I'm like, what? You are so backwards on this?
And then she was like, oh, well, I'll bring a salad. And you're like, okay, but there cannot be croutons because those normally have like a butter on them. There can't be cheese and don't put dressing on it. She was like, well, I was just going to do a Caesar salad. It should be fine. And you're like, Caesar salad dressing has dairy in it. It has cheese in it.
And it has Parmesan on it.
Like, why do you not understand this?
So I just said, you know what? Bring whatever makes you happy and comfortable for you.
Well, didn't you say that she was like, well, I really need to worry about me?
Yeah, she's like, really, I need to worry about myself. And I'm like, yeah, that's exactly it. I said, yeah, that's exactly what you need to do. You just worry about your damn self. You know, me and Bridget will figure us out. Enzo's going to be at his dad's. You know, just worry about you. So she decided that she's going to she's going to go over to her friend's house and cook with her because they're both alone and whatnot. And then for lunch, she'll come over for an hour and a half or something like that. And then she'll go back over to her friend's house for dinner. I said, perfect. Don't worry about
great.
I said, don't bring us anything. We're fine. So it's just, you know.
Well, then Enzo's Christmas expectation is really high too. He was like, where are we going? And I was like,
because last year we got a cabin up in Flagstaff, Arizona, where it was snowing. Mm-hmm. And I worked the entire week.
And like everybody flew in from out of town.
Yeah, all of our family flew in from out of town. The whole house was cramped. I literally sat at a kitchen table the entire fucking week on my laptop.
Enzo went sledding with his cousins. Like,
yeah, he had fun.
Yeah. So I think that set in his mind an expectation of like, this is Christmas every year.
Yeah, which it's not. So
this year he's like, where are we going? I was like, or he was like, what are we doing for Christmas? And I was like, well, we're going to like open presents and just hang out. He's like, no, like, where are we going? I was like, nowhere. And he's like, well, last year we went, to that house with all my cousins. I'm like, yeah, that was last year. That's not this year. We're going to have hopefully a newborn or be very, very pregnant and cranky. Yeah. One or the other, because I'll be overdue by that point. And the cousins are not flying in from out of town. Like, they're over on the East Coast. We saw them on the East Coast. And he was like, well, who's going to come to our house then? I'm like, Grandmama?
Yeah, like, we're not doing we're not doing anything. Like, very minimal.
low-key Christmas, because again, we'll either have a newborn or be very pregnant.
Yeah, and I'm not going to feel like cooking and cleaning, are you?
No. So I was like, Grandmama is coming probably, and maybe like we can ask Miss Susan, our nanny, if she wants to come for a little while for presents. He was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, so how do you let them know, like a child that age, that hey, your expectations are way up there?
Yeah.
Like he's gonna wake up Christmas morning and be like, this is it?
Like, we need a reality set you, bro. Like, what happened last year is not the norm.
No.
That was like a special, like, rare occasion
family
thing.
Yeah.
Like, everybody split the, price of different stuff, and it was a lot. And he was still at his dad's for Christmas morning. Like, you had to drive him back down.
Yeah.
And meet his dad. It was... Mm-hmm.
I did.
Yeah, I rode with you because it was snowing.
Yeah, it was snowing, and I had to drive him back down, and then we drove back up.
Yeah, we took Rhett.
Wow, I forgot all about that.
Yeah.
I just think that I don't know. It's not like he does all these different things with his dad.
Yeah.
It's just a lot. It's like, man, I really just need you to settle in and understand that we're going to keep it low-key this year. Like, you're extra pregnant, and... got a 2-year-old. You got you. Like, there's a lot of stuff. We can't go anywhere. I mean, you can't travel because you're pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. We'll just have to have that conversation, or he'll just find out. He'll have a rude awakening.
It'll be interesting for sure. What was the big thing that we had?
Oh, yeah. You need to talk about that. That was pretty crazy. You had somebody reach out to you.
Yeah. On our Freezer Milk Podcast Instagram account. I got a message and it was super weird. And it basically was like, hi Bridget, sorry if this message strikes you as odd. We share a mutual ex, and I just want to say that, my relationship with that ex was very traumatic and you were definitely gaslit. And if you ever want to talk about it, I'm more than happy to talk about it. And, hearing you talk about it on the podcast was like really, really helpful for me. And you seem like a really brave woman, so thank you. And I was like, what the fuck? What is this?
Because you weren't sure if it was like spam or what.
Some like weird stalker.
Just something weird.
It
was very out of the ordinary, for sure.
And so I was like, okay, well, who's the ex? And they listed, Enzo's dad, which I talked a little bit about. Like, our relationship was extremely unhealthy, and it was very traumatic for me, and it was a form of an abusive relationship.
Yeah.
I've talked about that a little bit here and there on the podcast, but she confirmed that, and then I looked at her profile, and I was like, I recognize her. Like, this is the girl who dated him before I did. I was like, this is the girl who dated him before I did, which is so crazy to me because I didn't really know a whole lot. Sorry, we're in the garage and the garbage truck keeps coming by. But I didn't know a lot about the relationship because they broke up before I started dating him. And I know they dated for a couple of years, I think, and that kind of stuff. But it was just so crazy to have her reach out, and I was like, how did you find the podcast? Because that's kind of, minor stalker vibes a little bit. And she was like, I was looking for podcasts about parenthood because, I've been on the fence a little bit about having kids, and this podcast came up, and once you guys started talking, I realized that I recognized some of the names because I'm sure she knew that, Jordan had a son named Enzo at one point, and that all of that, and I think she just realized it, and it was so crazy. First off, I was like, wow, our tags are working. She wanted a parenting podcast, and ours pulled up, but it was just absolutely you could have knocked me over with a feather when she reached out to let me know that it was really helpful for her.
Yeah, how many times have I told you that our stories, our testimony is very impactful, and it can help people substantially to navigate certain situations. That's why we do this. We want everybody that listens to us to understand that relationships and parenthood, it's not pretty most of the time.
It's tough.
It's very tough. And you were so like excited and just like in disbelief that day.
Yeah.
Because I remember you told me what happened, and I was just like, oh wow, like I didn't read as much into it as you did, but I thought it was really cool. Like it's really awesome, but you were just like, wow, this is amazing. Like this is so great that she was able to reach out to me in that manner, in that context, and be able to talk about this with me, because there might be some closure there.
Yeah, and I think, anyone that has ever been in an abusive relationship has always wondered, like, that's been the victim side of the abusive relationship, has always wondered, like, was it me? Is something in me what brought out the abuser in them? Like, you do wonder that. Like, not necessarily like it was your fault, but, like, it had to have been something that I brought out in them. Maybe they weren't always like that, or I triggered some darkness in them, something along those lines.
It was reassuring, I think.
It was, and I think it was for both of us, for her and for me, both to realize that, wow, like, it wasn't me. This is a pattern. And more importantly, like, there are other victims of the same abuser out there that have gone through emotional, psychological, and verbal abuse by the same person. And that's so sad, because how often do aside from the Me Too movements and crap like that, like how often do people get together and be like, hey, like we all dated the same person and we all had really traumatic experiences from it?
Yeah,
it's not something people like. There's not a Facebook group for if you're a trauma survivor of John Smith.
Yeah.
Post in here, join us. Like, it was just really, and it's really interesting because I feel like for her, it definitely gave a lot of closure and healing to her to realize that, she wasn't the only one that went through it. And I think for me, it was a little bit like, aha, like validation of like, okay, like it wasn't in my head, not that I necessarily thought, but you always wonder, am I blowing it out of proportion? Was it all in my head or not? But to have someone else step forward and say like, hey, I had very similar circumstances and some different ones that were not great either and that were really traumatic.
Yeah. And again, it's awesome that you guys got to share that.
Yeah, it was really interesting.
Even if all this podcast does is reach one person,
yeah,
like our job's done.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool. I mean, again, being able to help people and help yourself in the same it's what we're here for.
Yeah, you and I talked about a little bit that, because she had mentioned that, I was really brave for taking my son and stepping away from it, and getting help. And you've mentioned that, oh, Bridget, like you're stronger than the average girl.
Yeah.
And I put in a lot of work. Like a lot of work with therapy and...
Oh yeah, I remember when we first started dating. I mean,
yeah.
It was... you are definitely grown and you're stronger from where you were at, but where you were at, you were still a little timid of that whole thing, and he affected you on a daily.
Yeah.
I mean, he impacted you negatively.
Yeah.
Constantly. And me and you, especially you had to do a lot of work to move past all that.
And you were so, like, I could not have asked for a more perfect person to be building a life and a relationship with, because you were so supportive and you were so, like, you never outright, like, judged me to my face or said, like, hey, Bridget, like, let this go, move on. Like, you were just like, hey, like, I understand the wounds are very deep, and, how can I help, and how can I step up, or how can I make sure that I'm there during interactions.
That, or I don't trigger you. And we had to work through a lot of that too, because there was things that I was doing not on purpose, but I was doing to kind of trigger some of the things the traumas that had happened in your previous relationships. So we had to work through and navigate a lot of that.
Yeah.
It took a while. We're still working on it. I mean, there's still things today that you're like, hey, dude, like, chill.
I don't love that.
Yeah. So.
But it was really, really, really left field and really out there and really cool all at the same time.
But yeah, that was pretty awesome. I mean, again, this is what we do this for. We want to talk to people. We want to reach people. We want people to understand that they're not alone in all of this, that we're together. You know, raising kids takes a village. And
I definitely want to do a special shout out to
this individual.
This individual, my mutual shared ex-person, who will leave her name out of this, but if you're listening, like, thank you so much for reaching out. I know it was probably really hard for you to reach out and worry about, like, how's this going to be taken? Is, you know, Bridget even going to want to talk about this at all? But it really meant a lot, and it helped show me how much something as silly as a podcast can impact, and also how much it was validating for me to hear your story of what you went through. So thank you for reaching out. I appreciate that.
Well, we're going to wrap it up here. We got babies and pregnancy wives and stuff like that. So we appreciate everybody that's listening, and check us out on Instagram and a website, and have a happy Thanksgiving or holiday with your family, and, you know, just live in the moments.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody, for listening. You can check us out at
freezermilk.com
or Instagram.
Freezer Milk Podcast.
Until next week, guys. Thanks.
Don't forget, parenting is a trip. We are all here on the journey with you together. Thanks so much for listening.